Y'all need this? Good. We got the players back yesterday and went through our meetings and had a good workout last night, and obviously day off today. We were fairly accurate in what transpired in the game with some improvements and some downfield throws. From a defensive standpoint, we ran the ball a little bit better than what we had earlier in the year. Still have a long ways to go. But looking forward to a good week of practice. I think it's really important that our players understand that we need every day, every meeting, every individual period, every team period in order to continue to get better as the season moves on. So hopefully we can have a great week of practice, and looking forward to playing out there in the afternoon in Lubbock.
That's a team that historically and this year has had trouble against the run. Does that give you hope that maybe you can get some things further fixed when you play?
They've given up some rushing yards. I'm not sure that that our matchup in that area is as strong as what it has been against some of the other teams they've played them. Each week is different just depending on what strengths are, weaknesses are for both teams. But we certainly want to get better at running the football, and we'll keep working to make those improvements each day.
Mike, where were you, and how were you notified first Saturday morning about what had transpired down the street?
We were in our pregame meetings at Atherton. Same as always at that time on a game day.
Was it kind of a vague, general, that there's been an incident, or were you kind of given specific details? Pretty good.
Well, I was just told there was a crash and there was people injured, and they didn't have any other details at that time.
Mike, we want to ask you about maybe your leadership style, how it's may have evolved over the last, as a head coach, the last 10 years or so. How do you think you would have handled that 10 years ago?
I wouldn't have had the composure and the ability to handle it as a coaching staff as well as we did. I thought that we did with our players and the community and the people and the families. Because in those situations, there's really not any decisions that make sense at all. But we have to move forward. And as I said in the post game, that we have faith and the president and I'm sure the board of regents and whoever was involved in that decision, whatever direction they wanted to go, we were going to do the very best we could to make it as feasible as possible for all parties involved.
Your post-game comments showed that you were much more in tune with the community and the fan base and the media and everything that everybody needed from you. But, would you have been maybe more focused on football? We had a game to play, we had a job to do, that kind of thing, do you think,
Sure.
10 years ago?
And there has to be there's a real fine line there, because there's not anything you can say at any time to the families and the people involved. And as Bill asked where I was, I had just come out of a meeting. We had a little break before we had others. And you get the information, you start trying to find where your kids are and everybody involved. And there was a lot of people in the community over the weekend with our team, their families, their girlfriends, their friends, because of homecoming. There's 85,000 people on our campus on Friday night before before the game on Saturday. Football becomes irrelevant when you hear something like that. You start looking to make sure where everybody is. And at that time, you don't know what had happened, and so essentially you want them to go home. And for 45 minutes or an hour, football is not something that you think about at all. We kind of located where everybody was. We thought from an internal standpoint, we weren't going to have any other issues that could have come up. And then we were just waiting. We proceeded as normal and waiting to hear from our administration on what steps that they wanted us to take at that particular time.
Young people looking to you for leadership, they responded well, I guess.
I'm sure they were. When I went into the team meeting, as we do each Saturday before we come over here, It's usually a 15-minute talk, and it's my last comments on the game in all three areas. And the first 8 or 10 minutes was about what had happened, just because I think it's something that has to be addressed, and how we feel about it, and what we can actually do and what we can't do. And as much as you want to change it, what has happened has happened. The only thing we can do is try to make it better for the people involved. And as I said, if they decide to play the game, then the very best thing that you and we can do is play the game and go from that point.
You've always visited tailgates, post-game.
Sure.
What'd you do Saturday?
I went home. I'll be real honest with you. I was mentally drained after the game, more so than the 3 games that finished with us winning in the last minute.
Mike, is your football program going to reach out to the victims' families? And do you have any plans in place yet?
We have opportunities for our players to be involved with the families that have been affected, and we have given them information that they need if they want to be involved, and they have. Some of them have already reached out and have made contact with some of the victims of the crash and family. And I know that later on today is their day off. I know there's a number of them that want to be involved in those situations. They want to go and support and help the people the best they can. I don't think there's been any set agenda, but I know that we have a pretty large number of players that are going to be involved with the victims and their families later on today. And that could go on. One thing that's happened with the players over a number of years on our team is they have made connections with people that need help, and because of social networking and phones and the resources that we have nowadays, they've been able to build relations and continue those over a period of years. And I would guess there's a chance that could happen again with some of our players, which is what you want. Ultimately, I thought that the community, I thought the conference, I thought the University of Oklahoma was tremendous in their support for Oklahoma State. And that's what we should do as Oklahomans and a football family across the country. And we've had just a number of support people and support that have come in from across the country. And at that time, that's the direction we should go. So, yes, they will be involved with the victims.
Are you aware of any, like, helmet stickers or decals or tributes or anything like that?
I haven't gotten that far. At some point within a day or two, I'm going to guess that somebody will come to me with ideas and suggestions. And we have people that think way further along than I do in those situations and come up with great ideas.
Hey, Coach, you were busy on Saturday, needless to say, with everything going on. Was there a point Saturday night when you got home, you were with your family, that the event really hit you?
Well, it hit me when I found out, and it was a little more emotional than what I would have liked, even before the game with the team and afterwards. And it's not something you can plan, but Coach Sutton, Eddie Sutton, told me that one thing you can't forget in coaching is to grab your kids and tell them you love them every day. Those situations make us forget about all the things that go on that are irrelevant when and how precious life is, and it can be gone just like that.
From your wide receivers, last year you got 12 catches for about 190 yards a game. This year you're getting 20 catches, about 290. Did you, the combination of Rudolph becoming more established with all of those guys you have at the wide out positions, did you expect that kind of spike in productivity?
We felt like they would be the strength of our offense because of the number and the depth and the experience and what we were returning just from a availability standpoint for 6 or 7 guys to play, and we feel like could have success. So we had a good feeling that they would be very productive for us this year. Numbers wise, it's hard to really tell what you'll get from players based on how defenses play, but they have competed and played hard and made plays for us. We certainly will need them this weekend.
But if you're not running the ball the way you'd like, that's one way to compensate, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't have too much of it because at some point you become one-dimensional, in our opinion. I saw where our friend Mike Leach put it in the air 70 times. That's a little one-sided for what we're comfortable with here. We have to be able to run it enough to allow us to function as a balanced offense, and that's why we have to continue to do that. But what you're saying is correct. With the number of wideouts we do have some guys that we can flip it out there too that have been successful in crucial times.
Mike, if you had to have any special conversations with Mason and JW about sharing the role, or because of who they are, their makeup and their unselfishness, being able to accept their roles, has that just not been an issue? In other words, have you had to spend any extra time on it?
Haven't had one conversation with either one of them, and that question in just a little different way came up this morning on one of my teleconferences. And the reason that we're able to have success up to this point with those two players is because both of them are great human beings. They're unselfish. They've been raised the right way. They're for the team first. And there are young men that say that, and they're really not. These two guys are. And if I had the conversation with them, if we felt it was necessary, the one thing that I would stress to them is a lot of these players have a dream of playing beyond college. They come to Oklahoma State to get a degree, better themselves, and then try to play at the next level. Is that those guys at the next level, for the most part, could care less about statistics. If you can play, they're going to find you. That's why you see players show up on Sundays from schools that we may have never heard of, and guys that make it in the big leagues that come from places that nobody ever knows, because they will find you. So we haven't had the conversation. They've been tremendous, and I think that we need to give the offensive staff and Coach Yurcich some credit, because it's not easy to game plan and to be as diverse as we are at times, because you guys follow football. You know that if you do too much, then ultimately you're not any good at anything. But they have done a good job of trying to really play to the strengths of both quarterbacks, and we need both of them, and we're fortunate that they've played pretty well up to this point.
Mike, do you need to have that conversation with them? Do you need to tell them that you're proud of them, that they're really doing well?
Well, they know I'm proud of them. We tell them that all the time. But it's like if you have more than one child at home, some of them you have to tell they're doing good, and the other one you don't have to. And it's no different with these guys, and I don't think that they need to be told that they're doing good, because I think they're fine. They both have leadership capability. They're both mentally and physically tough, and that's half the battle of playing quarterback at this level.
When you see a play like the one at the end of the Georgia Tech-Florida State game, I don't know if you saw it. Did you see it?
I happened to see that one live. You guys usually ask me questions, and I'm not. I don't watch much ball, but I don't know why. But I happened to see that one live.
What goes through your mind as a coach, and then what do you tell your team in terms of defending plays like that in a situation like that?
Well, we will have that discussion tomorrow, and that in a situation like that, and if you watch it, if we were going to break it down and coach it, then we would tell our big guys to move sideways and build a wall and not chase the ball. Because if you chase the ball, you create seams, and they're lined up, and then those fast guys run around them. I would prefer that if they see it happen, to move sideways and build a wall and make them start running this way instead of allowing them to run up the field and make a cut, would be the coaching point. But it is not a great situation to be in, because you have what could be 5 300-pounders chasing a fast guy. And but that's another example of something that happened that we haven't coached either. We've coached the Auburn, Alabama situation, but that's another situation that has to be coached. So we'll cover it, and hopefully if we got in that situation, we'd be able to build a wall and make them run sideways.
And the Michigan State game, the way that they end, are we seeing more of that, or are there just more games on TV now? Seeing the same number?
I think there's more games. I mean, we see more than we ever knew before, because everything's on TV. And if it's not, somebody's going to show it to you on YouTube. So we see more than we've ever seen. But
Guys are making crazy plays that I don't remember ever seeing so.
Right. I think it's part both. I think you just see everything now, but I don't know 20 years ago if a guy would run down and pick up a punt on his own 22-yard line and start trying to run it back. I just don't know if they would. And they may be just trying to make the highlight tape. They may think this is my shot, and certainly made it. I saw later it was a top play of the day, so it worked for them.
Of course, Mike, Colorado once needed a field goal to beat you.
Faked it.
Instead, they faked it for no good reason other than
Field goal kicker was struggling. He wasn't faring very well, but he was 37 yards out, and that was a great call by Coach McCartney. But they certainly caught us off guard on that one, and it's high risk because you still have to do it. You have to snap it. I think he threw the ball. I think he threw a pass, and the guy ran it all the way in.
Got this, and Glenn reminded some of us out there, they had to defend 69 offensive plays by Tech in the first half year last year. Concerns in getting yourself ready, and also in helping, maybe having your offense help your defense disrupt Tech's rhythm so that they don't get into a situation like that.
Oh, I think it plays both ways. It's always a concern, but they're up tempo and he's doing a good job. They're spreading people out and they're throwing the ball out in the flat and they're running their screens and so on and so forth. They're running the ball more effectively than what people think. They have hidden rushing yards. So we would like to not defend that many plays. Best way to not defend that many plays is to be able to function on offense and to have 3 and outs. How much you can alter our philosophy and what we do in a 2-day period to get ready for a game is somewhat limited. We have to continue to line up in formations and use tight ends and fullbacks and such that allow us to run the ball and get better at it. And then we have to go with who we are. And defense needs to play well and get off the field.
Really talented players eventually get found no matter where they are. Took a really long time for everybody to find James Washington. Fortunately, it was you guys?
Yes, and it's a pretty good example because it's about as small a community out there hidden as you could find. And, we found him fairly early. It was during the season. And he's a great young man. He's one of those people, he never shows up on a list, never misses class. Haven't had any issues with him, hardly ever talks, just plays and unselfish. And he has a special talent to go up and catch a ball like he did down here in the corner the other night with the one hand. And it's interesting to watch him. He's still young and makes mistakes, but it never phases him. Like the first deep ball we threw down here against Kansas, he could have caught that ball. Would have been a good catch, but he could have made the play, and he knew it. And he just pops up and runs back and gets lined up. No emotion at all. So very pleasant young man to be around.
the defense you got this year, are you better equipped than ever to play against the Tech-style offenses, and you got more to come this year?
I think we're up to this point we're better than we've been on defense overall. We'll go through a transition here over the next month where we're going to find out for sure. We have some depth that we haven't had in the past that allows us to rush the passer a little more than what we've had. I think that's an advantage for us. We have some experience in the secondary. Obviously, that's important. We've had guys that can play nickelback for us against 5 and maybe even 6 defensive backs in the case, depending on what Tech's personnel is. He's using a lot more 20 personnel than what that offense has in the past. Two backs. He plays with 2 backs quite a bit. If we continue to eliminate big plays and force some turnovers and get some pressure on the quarterback, then each week it gives us a chance to have some success.
Everybody can see that Emmanuel Ogbah's a great player. You can see the speed, you can see the tackle, you can see the sacks. What is it about him that we can't see that makes him a great player?
Well, his personality, he falls in the same category with James Washington. And I've said this before, so I'm kind of repeating myself, but he's got a tremendous background, hardly ever says a word, doesn't show up on any list, never had any issues with him, yes sir, no sir, tremendous practice player, doesn't abuse his body, He's intelligent, plays with great effort, and at times that can go against human nature when you're in the position he's in, and it has not fazed him one bit. And as a coach, it's enjoyable for us to be around young men like that. And someday, whenever that may be, this year or next year, somebody's going to get a big-time player, and they're going to be glad they have him on their roster.
Baylor's quarterback, I thought I got to see him play at West Virginia last week, or 2 weeks ago. And I was really surprised how much he was involved in their run game. And so he gets out there the other day and challenges the safety and hurts himself. So with the success you're having with a thrower and an athlete, sharing reps with quarterback, is that something that you might have thought to doing long after JW has graduated? You know what I mean?
Yes.
To kind of have a runner and a thrower, or a combination of them.
I've never been a fan of using two quarterbacks, but I am now. And I would guess that it has to be the right individuals, as the question John asked earlier. If there's any friction at all, I would say it could cause some issues with the chemistry of your team. And I failed to mention when John asked the question, the other area where our team has been tremendous is nobody has said a word about why is JW on there, why is Mason in there, so on and so forth. And that's another factor you have to pay attention to. And so if it's the right players, it's working for us. It's given us a little more flexibility in our offense than what we've had traditionally.
Montavious Jones is a guy who's been here a while now and didn't get a whole ton of playing time early in his career, but stuck it out and now is making some big plays for you. Is that a good example of a guy who could have transferred, could have been unhappy, and kind of stuck it out to where he's now making some big plays?
He was kind of lost in the shuffle his first couple years. Then he had a few issues, not anything other than just being lazy, and kind of fell off the face of the earth for a while. Stayed in the program, recovered, came back, and he's a very valuable part of our team right now. And he's a success story up to this point because he's done just what you said. He's persevered through everything, and he's fought through it, and it's paying off for him. He's a veteran guy. He's extremely fast. He's important to special teams, and he's benefited us in a lot of different ways. I joked with him in the team meeting on Sunday. Let's see what it's today, last night. That pound for pound per capita, he's got to have more sacks than anybody in the history of football. I mean, you weigh 155 pounds, and tackles for losses, sacks and/or missed tackles for losses behind the line. He's had a couple of those. Not anybody that weighs 150 pounds has had as many as he has. So.
Back to the two quarterback system. How would Mike Gundy in 1988 have handled coming out in the red zone?
I wouldn't have liked it. But back then it was easier, right? You flip it up to 11 or you toss it to 21. Solved a lot of problems.
You were asked about seeing some plays. You've been pretty nimble. I can't remember you ever being run over, but did you see what happened to Bill Snyder in Austin? Did you see that?
I did not. Didn't see. I know I watched, I flipped it through there and saw a few plays and it was really raining hard, but I didn't see. Did he get run over? Did he?
Blown up.
Knowing him, he's probably all right. Probably popped right up. Yeah. At 76 years old. Yeah. Not probably. I guarantee he did. And it was in a purple pen. And you know what is he? That's why I'm not going to coach at 76. So you asked me why. That's why right there a guy could get run over. But he would be the guy that pops up and writes him a letter and says, "Hey, I'm sorry I got in your way."
Did you see the screen pass too? I think it may have been the Nebraska game. The linemen don't even get out of their stance.
I didn't see that one.
Okay.
Did not get to that one. But was it a good play? If it worked, then we look up plays, we YouTube plays and steal them and put them in. So that's one that we'll try. All right, it's good stuff.
They got playing time that don't normally get playing time there at the end of the game, and I know you like that, but did you find any help from those guys?
It was really good to get those guys in, and you guys know how I feel about them. They're the guys that make our program go. They work their butt off, and nobody knows who they are at times, but that got in and made a few plays. I thought we call him Corn Dog, quarterback, Cornelison. I thought he played pretty well. He missed a throw. He was upset. He had a chance to hit a touchdown pass and missed it on a slant. Our intentions were to just run the ball, but they had so many guys up there in the box that every once in a while we had to let him throw it. But he did well. We had some linemen that got some really good quality work reps, and then we had a defensive lineman that really got it. I think he gets credit for a sack because he forced a safety. So there were some neat moments for those guys, and it couldn't have come better than on homecoming, where there's a really good chance that they had family here.
In 2010, you finally get over the hump against Texas down in Austin. But, I mean, a few weeks later, you kind of snapped the same kind of a streak at Lubbock. I mean, y'all hadn't beaten Lubbock in 60 years in Lubbock. I mean, beaten Tech in Lubbock in a long, long, long time. So there was just about as much value to that then as going to Austin.
Yeah, it's a difficult place to play, and it's a 2:30 start. You've got to be able to. Our opinion, you have to be able to play sound defense. You have to be sound in special teams, and you have to be able to run the ball when you travel on the road in this league. Unless you're sitting there with an NFL-ready quarterback, that can change a game. And so that'll be our game plan. We have to be able to run the football and be sound on defense and special teams.
Places are known as being hostile, like Lubbock is in Morgantown. I mean, don't you control some of that? I mean, how you play controls.
Oh, sure. There's no coaching theory there that, if you can play well in the first quarter, you can kind of give yourself a chance to be on somewhat of a level playing field, which, we were fortunate enough this year we were able to do that at West Virginia. And, then you see at the end of the third quarter how fast it can turn on you. So it obviously makes a difference.
You just mentioned 2:30. Do you like that kickoff time?
Sure, I like playing day games. I would rather play at 1 or 2:30. It's easy travel for us. It's not too early, and we can get home at a decent time and get started for the next week.
What did you think of the throwback helmets on Saturday? You like the Classico SU helmet?
It's funny. I wore this, and I didn't realize that they kind of matched up with it. But I think that our group, Chief, and our equipment staff, they do a great job, and they have some imagination to what we do, and I think the players enjoy the different looks, and so I thought it was a good look. Yes.
You did?
Anything that's different is good. I like the all gray uniform here, and that's not a popular color here, but the reason I like it is because the players like it, and it helps you in recruiting. And if the players are good, then that makes us a lot better coaches. That's why I like the gray.
You got the 2:30 kickoff over TCU now.
I was unaware of that.
I mean, is that a game maybe you might prefer to go ahead and kick it off at 7 or 6?
Our crowd's been tremendous here. The 11 o'clock games are difficult because of, Little League soccer and flag football and girls volleyball and things like that. But for the 2:30, I think they get here and they tailgate, and some of them come in Friday night and they fill the place up. So I think it's a great kickoff. At times, I think it even helps us because a large group of people travel from Oklahoma City and Tulsa areas, and they know they can get back home before 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. And if they have children, it makes it a little easier. So I think it works out pretty well for us. Good.
Do you know how good you are, or are you about to find out with what you got coming up starting Saturday and all?
I think you find out each week a little more about your team. I'm going to say that I think we're a little better than I thought we were a month ago, but I know that we're not so far along that we can lose focus at any time. We don't have that type of talent right now and maturity put together. So obviously we'll find out each week. But I don't know out there who is just so dominant that they can't prepare well and just go play well on Saturdays and beat teams. I don't watch enough of it, but I think there's a lot more parity than there ever has been.
If you had to buy stock in one or the other, which do you think is the more valuable, JP or coaches?
Coaches, they're smarter, yeah, a lot smarter. Coaches are a lot smarter. You know what? If you want my opinion on polls, I'll give you my 20-second opinion on it. First thing is they shouldn't have one until October 1st, because how does anybody know? prior to that. Now it sells magazines and so on and so forth, gives everybody something to talk about, but I don't know what the consistency is on your preseason poll compared to where you are in the middle of October. Probably a long, no question, probably a long ways off. The truth is that I can just give you what we do. When I'm involved in it, the people that are in my media relations, they work with me and we discuss it. They know exactly how I feel about it, and they give me information, because I don't pretend to act like I watch enough to actually vote in the poll. Other than I have a feel for it, I see scores, they have a really good feel for it, and then we come to an agreement and put that together. But I think it's difficult for coaches to be as accurate as people who watch the game a lot more, because I don't watch that much football other than what we do and watch tape. So if it's not in our league, I don't see that many games. So.
Regardless of which poll it's in, you're in the top 10 now in the coaches poll, and that's 6 out of 8 years you've been in the top 10. Can you just talk about that?
Well, we've been fortunate, you know. We've won some games, and you have to win close games, and you have to get a few breaks here and there. But also the strength of the system that we have in place here allows us to hopefully grow and get a little better each week. And you only have to win the next one you're playing. And you, as coaches, you only hope that you avoid slip-ups and avoid lack of focus. And if you don't practice a couple times during the week like you're supposed to, then that's where you get it. So all the things that we try to stress to the players is avoiding distractions and not believing what you read and what all's out there, because ultimately it doesn't matter. Texas Tech's going to practice as hard as they can this week, and they're going to come up with a game plan to kick our butts if they can. That's what they're going to try to do. And if we don't think that, if we don't understand that, and we don't feel that when we practice and prepare, then you set yourself up to not play as well as you want to. That's kind of the way it is.
Because of the way the schedule's set up this year, you didn't have Florida State early. The Big 12 back, the contenders are backloaded on the schedule. You're sort of under the radar nationally. That'll change if you win Saturday. November becomes a series of shootouts.
Sure.
Do you like where you're sitting? Do you like sort of being under the radar nationally with not a lot of people talking about you? Does that affect your players?
I just kind of like, where we're at. I think that the schedule benefited this team. I think that we're a better team than we were a month ago, and we're much better than we were 7 weeks ago. And so it worked out well for us at this time. There's times we've had teams here where it didn't really matter who we played early. We probably could have played at a pretty high level week 2 or 3. We weren't ready for that this year, so it's benefited us. And ultimately it comes down to our players just have to understand that we're only as good as next Saturday, and try to get ready for that one, then we'll worry about the next one on Sunday.
I get it. All right.